No speeches? Well, I prepared. I'm on the airplane. So I'm still gonna say a few words because I don't know if there's any non-Jew here apart from me. Yes, so that's a problem, okay? Because what happens is when BDS is asking, to go on the streets, or when the Black Lives Matters is on the street, everybody is with them. Where are your allies, It is not a Jewish issue purely. It is really not. I prepared a whole speech, but as per instructions, I'm gonna be quick. But one thing I need to mention, that it seems to be like a tradition in my life now that every September 22nd I give a speech in a rally, and that's happened to be my father's birthday. So he keeps on telling me that the best present for him is that I always stand up for what's right. Thank you. And today I really feel that being here is the right move, because calling out a terrorist is the right move. My parents grew up in the communist regime, so my family really knows what it means to, live in a physical or a psychological fear all the time. So freedom and freedom of speech means something very different for them and something very different for me, the first generation who can speak English and travel. And it seems that in 2020, freedom of speech means some very bizarre things, let's be honest about that. And when I came to the US, I was introduced to this concept that you all like very much, and that's your First Amendment rights. That's literally my biggest culture shock, because I am continuously balancing between what is free speech, what is hate speech. There has to be a tipping point somewhere in between. Because in Europe, for example, you have countries where denying the Holocaust ends you in a jail, and in the US you can just say whatever you want without any consequences. And I think free speech is really our right, but there has to be a line not to be crossed. And SFSU, Harvard University, Columbia, NYU are really crossing that lines nowadays. So I recently graduated actually in a master program in Jewish studies. So I was thinking, what would I have done if my dean invites a terrorist? I not only ask back my tuition fee, but I also sue the university. So my question is, where is the backbone of today's generation? Because again, the fact that we cannot pull thousands and thousands rally against a terrorist, that's a sad story. And so, the reason I mentioned that I'm not Jewish, because it is not purely a Jewish issue. And let me quote from Leila Khaled for that matter. She said, "We cannot say that non-violent resistance alone will achieve our rights. We are facing an apartheid state, Zionism as a movement, the Americans, and in general the West, which supports Israel." So I think you got the point that basically I am her enemy as well. She's calling me out as well, because I'm a Westernized European, I stand for Israel, and I'm a Zionist. So if it's up to her, she's totally fine hijacking an airplane just because I am in this category. Oh, she also said, by the way, that Zionism is worse than Nazism. I'm not even going to comment on that for now. And let me go a little bit deeper though here, because what's happening on the US campuses is a moral and ethical and a legal issue. I myself survived 2 terrorist attacks by pure luck. And let me tell you that those who bombed up the London metro, the metro in London beside me, and the airport in Brussels, they both said that they were just standing up as a resistant for their freedom fights. Again, I let you finish the sentence what they were really resisting against, because these are terrorists. And that's the problem, that we are really sugarcoating the language around Leila Khaled. She is putting on a keffiyeh, makes headlines as a freedom fighter. She's smiling, taking pride in hijacking airplanes. And maybe you don't know, but the only reason nobody died on those airplanes is because by pure magic, the grenade didn't go off. But the intention was there. So let's not forget that the intention was there to even kill people. And that's what really puzzles me, apart from the fact that basically she's a member of a designated terrorist organization that is a terrorist organization as per the EU law and as per the US. So where is free speech, hate speech? I'm still having trouble understanding that. But I tell you something very sad that I experienced, especially I live in New York, and I feel that the Ivy League educated people with PhD are having a problem understanding the issue with this equation here, whereas you go and with the peasant's common sense, people can understand what is good and what is bad. So something is very wrong with our education system. And SFSU said that they are offering a marketplace for ideas, even though they might be controversial sometimes. So I was thinking, and I'm like, really, you want to convince me that a terrorist thoughts are actually worth considering? And I was thinking, you know, we really need to show the good, the bad, and the ugly to the students, like how to prepare them for the world. So it's one thing to bring a drug addict who cured himself, you know, and to show that was the bad, that was the ugly, here is the good now. But here comes the tricky point. Laila Khaled is not a reformed person. She's still taking pride in her actions and praises violence in every interview she is giving. So I'm really asking SFSU, are you really okay hosting a terrorist and educating people and your students on terrorism? So huge shout out to Zoom really, so standing up and saying no to this horrible event and have some moral compass again put out there for us. I'm going to wrap up with the fact that basically, in my view, SFSU and all the colleges that give platform to terrorists are sabotaging the efforts to fight terrorism. So that's pretty much the bottom line here. And I really want to ask, why is it yet again that there is a situation where Jew hatred can pass? Why do we always end up in this situation? Let me flip the question, and I'm going to leave you with this. If there would be an event where a Jewish speaker would be invited who is known to radicalize against Islam, do you think the Muslim students at the college would be okay with that? And I think we all know the answer. So we need to do better and Jew hatred. Thank you.